Thank you, everybody. Happy Earth Day. I always say Earth Art Day because art is right in the center and we're being very creative today. Um, if you had a peek at the video on how to make one of these, you will know, or now I will tell you, I highly recommend, this is a messy project. So if you're gonna make along with me, like I see some aprons and prepared tables, thank you, that's exciting. It's really like, we're really together. Gloves, I highly recommend a mask. These will mix within the bags, the kit, but it's still going to emit some dust. So you only get one set of lungs. I highly recommend you wear something to protect those lungs. I have an N95, but you can be as simple as a handkerchief, just something to give you a barrier. And then if you're like me and you're in your dining room because we can't be outside because it's what, 6 degrees outside in upstate New York, make sure you don't have your drink on your table. No food or anything edible within the vicinity because you just don't know how far these particles go. Our little Hypertufa pot, if you see my little label I created you, I gave you a visual sample of what it looks like when they're done. They're kind of clunky, I'll say. Here's one that's broken that I had for several years and was a beloved little pot. Has this was a very rough texture, but you can see like the side view has like these stones from the cement. Really lightweight. And that's the cool thing about Hypertufa is if it were cement, it would be really heavy and a toe breaker. This will hurt you. Maybe it'll break your toenail, but not your toe. It is equal parts Portland cement, peat moss, and vermiculite or perlite. I used perlite in this, and that's what those white little chunks are. If you wanted a finer mix, vermiculite is the way to go. But these are all like bad things to breathe in. So make sure when you're doing if you prepare bags like this or, in your vat, always protect your lungs. All right. So the other thing you're going to need is a releasing agent for your molds. I love petroleum jelly. It's cheap. It's really useful. You can slather this on, and sometimes you only have to do one application for if you want to like go another round. If you have cooking spray, that's helpful. I don't have that, but I always try to suggest other like more economical options. So cooking oil, vegetable oil, just better apply it onto a bowl and then apply it all over your surface. So then you decide what your mold will be. Old containers like this, you have a candy addiction like I do, you can take the lid off of your little candy container. This could be your pot, and then this could be your lid, or the lid can be your tray for your water if you have enough material. So I want to show you, I use these, you'll also need water, and I use this 16 ounce, it's glare, okay, 16 ounce food takeout container. So you'll need about 16 ounces of water, give or take. We're going to add this slowly. So just like in baking a cake or any baked good, you're going to mix all the dry ingredients and then slowly add in your liquid. So I have that prepared to the side. I have a little extra liquid or water just in case. And my surface is really protected within. So now I'll just shift on down the line. Here we go. I am putting my mask on now. So if I sound a little muffled, that's why. My surface is protected. I have a sample over to the side where I have like a tray where I have it so I can lift it out and over and put it somewhere else to cure. You might want that as well. If you don't have something like that, just a surface like an old tissue box, cardboard, you name it. Here are some tools that you might want also to add some decoration or surface design if you get there. Here's a container you could use, this oblong. I think I got some pierogies in there. Just make sure if you're going to go on the outside, you want to make sure, or inside or outside, just cover it really good with whatever your releasing agent is. You want no undercuts, and that means anything like an overhang. If this like hung over, it would not be a good mold. I'm going to try to use this little guy because I think this will be perfect for a Mother's Day gift. Well, when you can celebrate one holiday and then for the next. Okay, I'm masked up. Now I'm going to glove up. I also have some wet paper towels to the side, or wet towels, just in case. This is my dining room table. You know, you don't want it on your rug, but if you have that kind of thing to clean up quick, it'll be helpful. Okay, these Ziploc bags, these zipper bags, aren't the most bestest. Some of your kits might have double bag because the zipper is just the worst design ever. So what I did was I folded over twice. It's supposedly zipped, but I don't trust it, even though my lungs are protected. So I'm trying to just protect the surfaces of everything, make sure everything stays in here, and I'm trying to mix everything, all the dry ingredients. And then you might decide, if you're not so worried about getting your hands in there, you might open the bag up and just very gently mix the ingredients. The less you pull up, just mixing your fingers around, the less dust you'll get. I highly recommend, this was my trick earlier, as I see that dust around, if whatever you can do to try to seal out. I feel like this is the mixer, right? My hand right now is like the mixing paddle, and I definitely get more, what do you say, control here. Okay. Now, I'm trying to see your images as well. Some of you are making along, some of you aren't. So let's see. Have some patience if you're working inside the bag like this. If you were outside, especially on a windy day like this, you'd be a little better if you're facing the right direction and your materials aren't going to fly all out the container. But I'm in a cement mixing bin, and you could make a bigger batch and have more surface to work with. Okay, I'm getting close to a consistent dry mix, slowly mixed together. If as you go along you find any twigs or sticks like that, you might want to pull those out. Just like your cake mix, I really like to bake with my KitchenAid mixer, and I notice all the time, if I'm not very conscious, to scrape all the way to the bottom of the bowl, something's not quite mixed right, and that's the same kind of mentality you want here. Oh, there's some twigs. Let's get those out of there. You need to have these cured, so if you have a space or you're not so afraid of the cold, out there and prepare these now. And then they need minimally 2 weeks to cure, depending on conditions. So really nice dry conditions. But I would give them more like a month to or more, like 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, all depending. Some of you who might be potters, ceramicists might know like that curing process. If anyone has any, chime in too. If you've had experience with this, please let me know. But as you see right now here, I'm just slowly adding a little bit of water. And just a little bit at a time. Getting my hand in there, mixing the dough. I'm pinching the outside of the bag also, just to try to get all the surface, all the materials together, everything wet. You want a consistency like cottage cheese, nothing soupy. Generally, it's going to be the same amount of water as your part size or your individual ingredients. So it should be about 16 ounces for these packages. Okay. And then it's like, you've never stuck your hand in a vat of cottage cheese. You start to get that sensory experience here. Once you use just about the amount of water, you start to, your imagination can say, oh yeah, this feels like, you can kind of mold it from here. This is nothing squeezing out when I squeeze really hard with a clump. And here I actually feel like I'm confident. I could even like make a pinch bowl here. I have seen too, I might add a little bit more water. I'm still a newbie to this, so not everything I say is absolute. It's all about experience. Oh, hey, see that? It's like my KitchenAid mixer times. Didn't lift the bowl and check all my ingredients, so I wasn't completely mixed up. I have seen where you can use fabric, so like burlap, and coat the burlap on both sides and then drape it over a structure and then let that cure and dry and have this organic sculpture that looks like frozen fabric. So just making sure you go slow and steady with that water to not overdo it. Okay. Now my hands are dirty already, and I forgot to.
Erica, in the chat, Bev mentions, Harry says Portland cement is at 99% strength in 28 days.
And Bev. Harry's conduit, right? So I just needed to clean my gloves off a little bit so I can get my cloth in there. And now I just want to cover my my mold. On the exterior of my candy box. Go on the interior. This has an undercut, so that like stuff can squish underneath there. Since I won't want this again, and really since I don't care about how dirty this petroleum gets, I'm going to get really in there so that once 28 days and this is ready, I can pull it out, and if I have to crack anything, it's okay. So we can still kind of work with undercuts if you got anything like that. Okay, so get the bag out of the way. On. In two hands, and I'm trying to smush it. This application process is all up to you. If you want it thinner, just try to mix it a little thinner you know, just a little bit at a time. I wouldn't go much thinner than this. But I would even suggest maybe a harder wall container. So it's not like you're getting a porcelain or even a terracotta pot that's going to have like super thin walls. You're going to have a thicker wall because we're working around the surface. And you want even thickness of your wall all the way around. And that thickness for me here is at least an inch. I only gave you this much material, so you have to use a smaller container unless you have a whole bunch of these supplies on hand. But you want to make sure you cover the surface. If you get to the bottom of the bag and don't have enough to cover your surface, you can easily swipe that off, put it back in the bag, and find a container that will work for you. Now here's like the smush it all together part. I won't have enough material to make a tray. And here I'm actually seeing some problems. So I'm not happy. And I know that if I tried to say this is going to cure with all those cracks, it's not. I could sit here and work it or try to work it, but I'm not willing to. So just as I said, you take it all apart, put it back together. That's part of being a maker. You're in control for what you make. So then, with the magic of television, boom, like it never happened. Here's my bigger goal. Here's a lovely orchid that I want to put this in, and I needed a bigger pot. I started working this a while ago, like right before we started this program. I'm even going to add a little bit more water before I mix in again, because we did lose some water in that pot. This was one full bag. I made plenty of kits. I think there's more left over. We'll be doing more take and makes of these kits in June, so you don't want to invest money to buy them. Just ask and we'll make you one, or make sure you get one. So this, if you see, is a terracotta pot, pre-existing up in the store. And I had already added the stuff. Having those stronger walls, so much better. So I apologize to anyone who might already be working with me and learn the hard way. But I also tried to show you not so hard to just take it apart and put it back together.
Erica?
Yeah.
In the video that I saw that you had shown me, they use a pot or a container within a container. If you do it that way, do you use a wetter mix?
You probably would, and then it would have a more of like a slip, like if you were using ceramic, I think that might work better. So that's one thing, actually, thank you, I forgot to suggest. If the two-piece parts fit together, where you have at least an inch of a wall on the exterior object, you could put your Hypertufa mix in there and then smush the two together and then let that cure, like a mold process. They actually make silicone molds like that on, I've seen them for really inexpensive on Amazon. So if that's something you wanted to invest in to get more precise shapes, I think that'd be cool. I just try to do things on the fly, and especially for Earth Day, reduce, reuse, recycle.
I think it's really wonderful when someone like you, Erica, demonstrates, and it may not turn out exactly how you had hoped that it would. So you alter your plan, and that helps other people who have never done it before to know, as you said, you are in charge, you can do it how you want, and you can make changes, and that's okay.
Thank you. Right? I mean, the only boundary is you. Maybe something monetary, but we try to remove those boundaries for you as much as we can. If you have a hole that exists on your pot already, you can cover that. Or if you feel like you're at the top of your mold and you need to create a drainage hole, this would be the time to do so. If there's a flat surface, you could use like a wooden spoon or something just to create the hole. This looks like a volcano. And now I kind of want to do a 4th grade science project with it. So once you feel you've gotten, work with this too, you're going to feel like I feel at the bottom of the bag, it's a better consistency than what I had at the top of the bag. So I probably didn't mix it well enough. I would highly recommend doing this outside in an open surface, not that bag so necessarily. Because yeah, I'm able to mold this a lot better now. Perhaps it's because it's on top of a nearly dried surface. It's hearing better. Well, okay, so it's pretty heavy. Not the greatest surface. But if you had a little bit more water or a more viscous surface, like this is seeming to be, then you can consider like texture. Okay, let's fix it. Before we consider texture, let's think about making sure this will sit flat, right? So I'll use something like that. Got to smush it down. Flat surface. Assume it's going to sit flat. Hope and pray, right? Let's see if we can get some letters. Oh, this is upside down, so let's see if I can spell love backwards. It's not really doing anything. At this point, you can start to figure out if and how you want texture. You could do some hash lines. You could try to imprint the things. If you had bubble wrap in the video, you might have seen with a mold, like if you had a bigger mold, you can line the inside with bubble wrap and then put your mix in, and then your inner part of your mold, so your 2-part mold. And then once that cures, you take that all out, the bubble wrap design would be on the exterior surface. You could also try to just press that in. You could also, depending on the consistency of it, try to use like crumpled bag, etc. This would also, once it's cured, this can get painted. Maybe you could even take some berries and make a natural paste pigment and see what that does, because it's a stone. So I feel it's going to be really lopsided. And I'm not willing to turn this over. But I've used most of my cement, so I can't make a tray for this. But I can usually find a pot or a plate or a tray, like an old cooking sheet. I'm going to take my gloves off at this point. When you're done with this portion, you'll just want to put it in a plastic bag so that it can slowly dry. You're going to put it then into in a space that it's not too drafty, a good temperature, so, and won't get bumped around, etc. So perhaps you have a garage or a barn or a closet, some space where it can just live for a while. You don't want it in direct sun because it could crack. And then, as we discussed, 28 days to cure. If you want a little longer time is better, maybe even safe.